mind is telling in a story will be linked somewhere in the body to an emotion. To then think, oh, okay, yes, I'm having some fear about this feeling. I don't like this feeling. It's really uncomfortable. Stop feeling this way, body. When you meet it with, okay, I'm with you and I'm curious about how you feel, that in itself is changing the story, because you're changing your mind's response with fear to acceptance. And it's a completely different dynamic. Then the body relaxes. The body's like, oh, okay, I've got your attention. You're not fighting me away.
Like real permission. And it sort of strikes me that often it's not the thing that's painful, it's the resisting of the actually diving into the thing that you're bracing against. That's where the pain is, and actually the permission, the curiosity, the allowing, the feeling, like everything you're describing can completely transform everything.
All these different parts of us that are trying to protect never having to feel that way again. So the numbing out desensitizes. What's worse, like living with all this discomfort and anxiety and then having to manage what you can and can't do to try and avoid feeling anxious or to avoid having more pain. Give it a chance to let it communicate with you, learning to resensitize what you've once numbed out from, rather than going into the deep discomfort that the mind is protecting from how it once felt. There's actually a relief that happens from the body. Like, oh, thank goodness. Thank you for finally coming back to me. Mind, body together, not mind versus body. Without the discomfort, there isn't change, because you just carry on as you are. But when you have no choice but to face something, embrace it. You can fight it and resist it. Think, oh no, this is just how it is, I'm just going to have to learn to live with it. Or there's there's got to be a reason why this is happening, and explore it, working with life versus fighting it. And what it opens out is an absolute miracle.
Because when you're describing that, like, my sense is that those fears are life extinguishing forces, almost like they're closing us down and making us small and constricting and contracting and becoming like just this little whisper of a human, when in fact life wants more life to move through.
If you overcome your life's challenges and see them as opportunities, then you have a whole other perspective and opening.
When we turn away from the things in our systems that are uncomfortable as a form of self-abandonment, so we abandon ourselves and maybe look for something or someone outside to rescue or to fill us up. And then actually to be so present and available to yourself that there's no unmet need there. And then what you bring into relationship with anyone is much more full and like you're connected with your wholeness.
When my body radar of anxiety has gone off, I've overridden it for that need of connection. And so as I've developed the connection with my body and sharpened up my intuition and the trust that I can hold myself, dissolved the ability for other people to manipulate and control, and me to allow that to happen.
And it's so interesting how as we change and evolve, what might have felt compelling or engaging before just no longer even kind of speaks to us. It's like, oh, that's just got nothing for me. And then you orient more towards the kind of life-affirming, healthier dynamics.
Yes, because that lesson that you needed to learn,
it's like a door has just shut. And then other doors open.
Therefore, you've got to take responsibility for that rather than blaming anybody else. Because as soon as we blame somebody else for anything, it's a complete waste of energy. Because you're never going to get an answer from that person. You're never going to get the resolve. What did that situation make me see about myself so that I could take my power back?
Owning that, and also I think owning that with that kindness that often we're making unconsciously driven choices as well. Like we're not even conscious of what's driving those choices. And I sometimes hear people blaming themselves for making poor choices, which in fact are just like energetic frequency choices. Like it's not conscious, like none of us are trying to hurt ourselves consciously. How we meet that with more care and it all comes back to the body, like that presence of really noticing everything that's being felt.
Oh, I noticed with all the relationships that I chose, there was such a big pull. The connection was so strong, it was like a vacuum, like and then you could think, oh, why did I let that happen? I did it again. But actually it was meant to, and that's why it's so vital to acknowledge and understand the signals from your body. And the more you can understand that, that's going to guide your life to unconditional love.
I've heard people say that when you feel like an intense attraction to somebody, be very aware that that's often trauma bonding, and like not necessarily just in a couple relationship, but sometimes I've had kind of real obsessions with people I've met where, like, just as friends, where it feels kind of intense, and I've noticed that quite often there's just some, we might think of it as karmic, or there's just something really rich to explore there. But I'm so interested about how much it is like there's some rich discovery to explore, but not to assume it's like everlasting love in a couple thing.
Yeah, it could be a label of it's trauma bonding and whatever, you could go into the mind about an explanation around it, but actually that energy is so alive. And so it's like putting you into this vortex, because yes, there is something rich and juicy to be explored within that dynamic. The mind goes, oh, what is this? Is this my soulmate? Are we meant to be best friends forever? Or maybe this is the person I marry. Maybe it's none of that. Maybe there's a really good lesson that you two need to teach each other. And that energy is so strong, and that's why. Because there's something. And yeah, it might be comfortable, it might be uncomfortable, but that's the willingness to expand what you can feel and the flow of life.
And where that energy is strong, that's life force, isn't it? Like where there's strong energy, if we listen to that call, it's something enlivening about it. Because while you're talking quite often about the body, you are like touching sort of different parts, like you were describing about the relationship thing, and it seemed to be quite kind of solar plexusy, and then there's times when you're kind of gesturing towards your heart, and
like solar plexus around the stomach, like the core of us, is where a lot of anxieties are. Stomach area is a lot to do with the theme of confidence and self-esteem. Just under the sternum, and then it goes squidgy. If you press into there, this is a big indicator of how much tension is stored there, and just start massaging that part of you. And it's probably going to evoke some relatively strong sensations. So starting to get your mind a bit interested in those feelings as you're massaging and testing how much you can press and what feels a bit too uncomfortable. And even building up this curiosity to notice what happens when you press into that area. Because we have so much accumulated stress and tension in the stomach and around the organs that are held there. And so this is sort of starting to help disperse that, but also give you an awareness of how your mind responds to a little bit of discomfort. How does it feel for you?
So it felt quite tender and painful to start with, and then as I did more of it, I just started to feel really comfortable with meeting it, and actually it feels more comfortable as it's gone on. And I think something about your presence is giving me permission just to kind of explore. And I know that that's a place where particular dynamics can set off, where I feel like I'm not in my centre and my power. That's where I'll feel that I'm being rattled. I would say the part of my system that is least flowing. Like, yeah, I can feel that around certain people where I feel almost emotionally manipulated through my solar plexus. I can feel when people kind of want more from me, like they're almost like pulling me in than I'm willing to give, and it doesn't feel safe for me to open. So I'm really aware of dynamics there, and I'm also aware when I'm trying to set boundaries, how I really feel it there, how tender that can be.
When you're in those connections and you notice like some discomfort, like to relax your center, to like find that softness within yourself.
Oh, interesting. I've always thought I had to put a fiercer boundary over it, but you're like, be more relaxed, be more soft.
Yeah, because if you are in your body, nobody else can be.
Interesting.
And I think the fear of having to protect your energy from someone, it's actually making that happen.
Yeah. Okay, this is such a big theme for me. Yeah, to soften.
Yeah, knowing that it's okay, I can hold my own. Because if you're like constantly thinking, oh no, I need to protect my energy from that person, it's inviting fear in.
Interesting. When that kind of fear gets triggered in me, there's a dissociation and a freeze, and I just disappear. So I'm not filling my space. I've left my body, I've left the building.
Yeah. So yeah, if you're there, you're relaxed, you're breathing, you're conscious of what's there, what's showing in your solar plexus around your stomach. You've got the anxiety, and you just breathe into that. Breathe into it and hold your own. You like maybe send some words of reassurance, like, yeah, this is okay. I'm noticing this, and I will find the moment where I choose to leave.
Breathe into it, hold your own.
Breathe into it, hold your own. Yes, that's a good one.
Love it.
But yeah, there's so much that goes on around here, and even just choosing to acknowledge that feeling by massaging this point is going to be really helpful. And I do Shinetsang, which is an abdominal massage, working with the different organs here to really decongest what gets stored and accumulated emotionally, the different organs, the liver, the kidneys, the large intestines, and they all have an emotional link. So it's almost like a decoding that can happen. If somebody feels particularly tender around their liver, like we can know, okay, yeah, that's something to work with. And then there might be an instant story that comes from the mind, and then a frequency, another reaction from the body that just sort of sets off this thread to get to this underlying belief that's creating the distortion.
Yeah, anger, and I hear that a lot from women in particular.
Yeah, I do too. It's like when I'm angry, I don't know what I will do. So there's like a real big, I don't trust myself when I'm that angry, so I'm not even going to go there. But that suppressing and trying to manage and hold that anger, like blocks opportunities for life, because that anger, that is fuel, that is energy that can be used to create something. It's not necessarily, I'm so angry, so I'm going to go and punch someone's head off, which when I was a kid, I used to be quite punchy.
As soon as you started talking about anger in that quite embodied way, I felt it in my hips, and then I felt my jaw go, ooh. And that's when I get my migraines quite often. There's like, I've gone, ooh, and my jaw gets really locked, and I've not been able to give voice to stuff. So just that really interesting hips and jaw both went, oh, it's like my body was listening when you were talking about anger.
Yeah. The hips and the jaw, the sacral chakra and the jaw are connected. You know, we could get deep and juicy into like sexual shame and sexual experiences where the nose haven't come through, and
and then you've overridden your own body. What I'm hearing from a lot of people at the moment, women in particular, not knowing what to do around like the Epstein files coming out and it validating a lot of like experiences of exploitation, abuse, and like feeling really like, oh, thank goodness, like this stuff is coming more into like conscious awareness, but like what do we do with that? Like how do we like meet that? Like I feel it in my jaw. I've got so many people messaging me talking about like this kind of like sacred rage. Like what do we do and not cause more harm with it? Like
you can overindulge in reading all about it, and actually that's not very helpful. Whatever that story has evoked in you is what to be with in the body, because that is going to be a representation of something within you that needs some work around that theme of, you know, the rage and the, you know, it's it's a big one, and giving up power away, and you know, also stories of not wanting it to be true, not, you know, maybe there's a past experience where you know it wasn't quite right, but you have a protective story around, oh, it wasn't as bad as what it was. And so like it being really loud to us now, it's like there's no hiding.
That's so interesting. I've really realised how I've been gaslighting my own experiences, and then I'm like, there's something very validating about that, which makes it compelling but also not healthy and helpful. So it's like to dip into things and then to kind of turn away and turn in, and to keep exploring what's emerging in this vessel.
It's like Googling a symptom and reading about it.
Yeah,
Reading
mind.
Exactly.
Not body.
Exactly. So you're like getting further and further away, trying to find the answers and the understanding from those stories that you're reading, versus that story has enlivened the rage, the anger, the tension in the jaw, and that becomes your next checkpoint. That's done its job, thank you, no need to go there, and now be in and give space somatically to what you can notice in the body.
So not looking for answers, solutions out there, always dropping back in, deep in what's true here, somatically, not mentally.
Exactly, otherwise it's more self-sabotage.
Yeah.
You're just evoking more and more fear, you're just erupting it. It's like having a wound in your leg, and just like every time you read it, it's like press. Okay, stop pressing and actually feel that wound so it can close up